Hey, this is David for Big Bits, and in this video we're going to go over a little bit of Bitcoin TA, talk a little bit about the channel, where we're going with things, and really that's about it for right now. I just wanted a quick video out today. I appreciate everyone leaving all the great comments and stuff on the videos I put out. In case you're not aware, I put out a 3-part little like mini series in the TradingView PineScript tutorial series about creating a scoring based indicator, and that's already available. Let's see, go to my scripts tab here. That's already available on my scripts on my TradingView profile. You should be able to find the link to that in the video description. If not, you can kind of see that up here. If you need to, just pause the video and browse to it like that. But you can see this is what we covered, how to make that. It covered a lot of interesting things such as for loops as well within PineScript. But anyway, let's get back to actually talking about TA. I hope you've been following me on Twitter. I've had some pretty good calls lately, and I'm pretty proud of that. But of course, nobody really knows what's going on, and I'm not a financial advisor, so definitely don't take anything I have to say as telling you should do anything. But it's been for the most part pretty readable. The only thing I haven't really predicted was you can see on this chart here, perhaps. Maybe if you're not on mobile, there's a red line coming down. That's the 6-month long log resistance, and 4-hour and daily candles close below that. I figured that would have put up a little bit more of a fight, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Anyway, this morning, like I said, I hope you follow on Twitter, because this morning I posted the less than 1 day time frame looks pretty good for a bounce today, and this was 7 hours ago. And we're already seeing it somewhat. At that point, it had only come up just a little bit, and if you followed me, you know I'd said that the indicators have reset. So essentially, I'll show you what that means in just a moment. I'm tempted to show you on this chart, but it's really small. But I also said that the 4-hour looks pretty good this morning, but I could have also seen the price going sideways for a little bit, and I'll bring that up and I'll actually show you now. Let me get my head out of the way now. Okay, so I think I sent that tweet out when the price was about right here during the middle of that candle, and the stochastic was pretty low. The RSI trend change had not occurred yet, so we were right here, and the stochastic RSI was still really low down here, and that's one of the reasons why I said I could see it going sideways, especially because the MACD was still well below it. But this particular candle here kind of changed things a little bit. It brought us up out of the oversold areas on the stochastic, it brought us up out of the oversold on the stochastic RSI, and it caused a trend change on the smoothed RSI, which I was kind of hoping for. I figured once we came down here, we would touch the bottom Bollinger Band and bounce off the 50 period 4-hour moving average. And anyways, it looks pretty good on the 4-hour. I think the 1-hour is already back up, but it's crossing back up while it's up here. So we might see a pretty good close to the day, and I'm hoping for a really good close to the week, because if we go look at the weekly candles, and of course I have to hide the Bollinger Bands because they're absolutely nuts back there. One of the things you're looking at when you see this is we have this long resistance channel, well, this bearish channel, but the long resistance line up here. And as of right now, we're closing above it, and there's a decent wick. And one of the things I was kind of afraid of the last day or so is that, you know, maybe we don't find that support that we're looking for, that the indicators probably are calling for. Maybe it does kind of crash, and we do come back down. And the most brutal thing that you could have on this weekly chart is for there to be a very long wick on the top of this particular candle. But I don't expect that to happen, simply because we do have those wicks on the bottom of them, and our indicators are still moving up. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, but hopefully we do get that bounce and we finish the week strong, and that's going to continue this momentum on these indicators really good. Whereas if the price drops and it leaves a long wick, instead of these kind of trending up so high, they stay more kind of flat on the stochastic, and you could get something like this back here where it kind of comes up, and just ducks back down. You can see that happen several times back here. But hopefully what we're seeing is that momentum building. We do have the smooth RSI trend change. We've got the stochastic RSI moving up. We've got the stochastic moving up, and we've got the MACD, which this forecasting isn't perfect on this one, but it definitely looks like it wants to cross over here. And I can explain this MACD forecast for you in another video, but it's not perfect simply because it uses very short moving average periods, and it uses a different moving average method to do the forecast as opposed to the actual calculation in the indicator. So just kind of take that one with a grain of salt for now. But honestly, it looks really good on the weekly. I'll go back to the 5-day, which I was so excited about a few days ago. It looks absolutely amazing. I have no idea where we're going to stop at on this one, but if I were trading this chart, which I posted my idea a while ago, I personally would have wanted to go long when I started to see that rise, and that's when I posted the idea. Who knows where we're going to be at now? Hopefully the week closes strong. Let's see, when's the 5-day end? That was on the 6th, so this actually closes tomorrow. And it's already almost crossed over on the MACD down here. So probably just about no matter what the value is, as long as this closes above that resistance line here, it's probably going to suggest that the MACD is, well, it will cross over, I should say, as long as we keep those values, because the moving averages, the exponential moving averages are starting to move up. So on the shorter time frames, so that's going to be good. It's absolutely good, and we want the price to bounce significantly to bring some of these other values up and to play with the momentum on those indicators. If they were to rise quickly upward with sideways movement, then that would be bad from what I've seen. Typically when the indicators move up or down while price remains pretty much sideways, it's usually not a good sign that there isn't actually momentum behind those changes. Okay, so that handles Bitcoin. So let's take a look at a couple of other ones that we've talked about here, and let's see. Start with Litecoin versus the dollar, and that's had a really good bounce today. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, nothing bad here. The RSI trend is pretty clearly defined. It's going up. Might find some more resistance around the 100-day, but let's pull the Bollinger Bands back in. It could very well be starting a trend where it rides the bands up. It kind of already started it, and I think that's the same thing that's kind of going on in Bitcoin. I forgot to mention that. It is kind of riding those Bollinger Bands back up, so hopefully it does that for a long time. The price can go up quite a bit. But let's take a look at it versus Bitcoin itself. That's good for Litecoin. It's making a good move today. Up. I mean, I think I mentioned it's in a pretty similar situation on its Bitcoin and USD comparisons. Let's go to the weekly chart, and yeah, it looks pretty promising. If we're looking at the same stuff, you want to see it really shoot up so that it takes advantage of that momentum. You have moving averages up above it, and you have some prior support. It's probably going to be serving as resistance now, so that's something to watch out for as well. All right, I do think it was the same on the weekly. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. The RSI trend, the smooth RSI trend change is starting. Going to cross over on the MACD weekly. Looking really good for a potential gain here. Ethereum. Yeah, looks good on the weekly versus the dollar. All right. Look at the daily. Same situation as Bitcoin. Pretty much following lockstep with it here recently. Looks pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's ready to go down just yet. Let's see, what was I gonna do? Did I look at the ratio on the daily? This is it versus Bitcoin. It's holding below the mid Bollinger Band. Doesn't look too great, but what is promising is that the MACD is holding above its signal line, and the RSI, the smooth RSI trend change, is happening on this candle. So seeing a lot of that today. Hopefully, that can help it move with respect to the weekly as well. Although I'm really not sure what to think about Ethereum right now. It really needs a solid bounce for me to really turn super bullish on it on the weekly here versus Bitcoin. Pull it back up versus USD. Whereas versus USD, it looks pretty good. So I've said this before in the past. If something looks good versus the dollar as an altcoin, and it looks bad versus Bitcoin or neutral versus Bitcoin, that could mean that Bitcoin itself is poised to go up in price because usually they move versus the dollar with Bitcoin, but a lot of times they don't gain as much percentage wise as Bitcoin on those moves, and you'll see their ratios versus Bitcoin drop because of that. So that's something else to keep an eye out. If you don't understand that, I don't blame you. It took me a while to catch on to at first. So if you have any questions about that, just leave a message. I want to take a look at a couple of other things as well. I always like to take a look at basic attention token. And it's actually looking decent on its weekly chart, like it might be wanting to change momentum, but definitely not in a place where I would be confident in saying that. Let's look at it on the daily versus the dollar. This one doesn't look too good. No, doesn't really look too good on the daily chart, but hopefully it mostly just stays sideways if you're bullish on it, and it'll find some support going back quite a ways here. That would be ideal, especially considering it looks like it could build upward momentum on the weekly chart. So it might just be a week or two away, maybe more. Let's look at it versus Bitcoin. All right, it is back below its 200-day. They're pretty low. Yeah, this isn't the worst it could be, but it's not looking good at the moment. I think what you're really hoping for here is a bounce. So I think I could see basic attention token probably going down a little bit here, and then maybe having a bounce off of the bottom Bollinger Bands going forward. It's probably going to take a few days, but maybe beginning next week on the next weekly candle, it'll start to see a bounce and pull its price back up. All right, let's take a look at. Let's see. Let's try Link. It's a new one I'm looking at. I've heard a lot about it before, but I've just started looking into the technology behind it. It's just really interesting. I have done smart contract development before, and that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking about starting a series on it, which likely will get started hopefully in the next month. But I also have some other ideas as well, and there's of course these TA videos and the PineScript tutorials, so getting other development type stuff in is kind of hard to come by right now. But let's see, Link on the daily chart, not a whole lot of reward potential here. I think could be bouncing off resistance on the 100-day. Let's take a look at it on the weekly. That might actually look pretty good on the weekly. Oh wow, yeah, that does look pretty good on the weekly. If it can close above the mid Bollinger Band, that might be very, very good for Link here. There's not a lot of data to work with. I wonder if there's another exchange that has more. Let's see, Binance. Yeah, there we go. Let's get rid of that stuff. Yeah, that makes a lot more information available to us here. Yeah, this is another one I could see potentially changing momentum here soon you can see this stochastic RSI already turning back up, and you have your smooth RSI trend change happening, stochastic bouncing here, and what you're really hoping for is several strong days of green candles to change the MACD around and bring it back up, which would be very, very bullish. All right, let's take a look at it versus Bitcoin though. All right, that one's kind of in the same shape as some other ones we looked at. It's having a good day, but not really clear what potential it has. I'm pretty neutral on that. But that pretty much does it for the TA. As far as the channel goes, I did mention some other videos. I've gotten a lot of great comments on the YouTube series so far for the Pine script tutorials. I have a few more things that I wanted to share with that one. Some work with strings, with concatenating strings to look at different data at once. I actually kind of show you that one right now. I'm sure someone's probably curious. Let me change my charts to my development chart. I'll pull that one up here. Oops, that's the wrong one. Binance alt difference. So I had a request from someone to calculate a price difference based on the ratio of altcoins and their USD price to the price of Bitcoin, and it led me down a path to where I found out some different things. You can see the source of it here, and we'll go over that in another video most likely. But one of the things I wanted to point out was I've got it set to where you can actually go through different coins just with the drop down here, and then you can also put in a custom alt here versus Bitcoin. So we could do link. We need to check use custom alt. So those are the ratio differences for link, and you can also view it in a percentage difference as opposed to just the dollar-based difference. So that's something to look forward to. I think there's a couple of other things that have been submitted. I'll take a look at plotting some more like lines. I would like to do some work on divergences. Those are very useful. And I don't know. If you've got any good ideas, let me know. I am trying to find ones that are good for videos that won't take forever. I've gotten some really good ideas, but some of them involve a lot of work. So if you just want like a general concept, then I can start with that. If there's any feature of Pine, that's a pretty good way to start as well. Otherwise, there's two different video series that I'm looking at doing, and I am for sure doing the smart contract development. You may or may not like that one if you've been following me, but as a developer myself, I feel like it's in my best interest to work on that and to kind of build up a portfolio of sample code and put that on my GitHub so people can see that. And then, of course, there is a video series on explaining the common indicators. So there's actually a lot of these types of videos out there already, but I plan on doing it different, of course. That's kind of how my channel works. But what I plan on doing different, let me go back to my other chart, kind of give you an idea. What I would like to do is I'd like to make a series entirely about each individual indicator, go over the math for each one, and how that can be used to be interpreted on the chart, as well as what to expect because of the math going on behind that. So for example, with our forecasting, it's important to understand what price action could do to the particular indicator that you're looking at, and you can get a picture of that in your head just by knowing the mathematic formula for a lot of these things. And plus, honestly, all of the videos that I've done that I've focused specifically on certain indicators or specific features in Pine have done a lot better on the views and stuff. And in the end, the YouTube channel, I would like to increase the views and subscribers and stuff. So I do need to cater to that a bit more, it seems. Although I think everyone who's been watching enjoys the videos we've been doing so far, and that's why I like to do some of the stuff that you all request as well. So I'd like to thank you all. The giveaway is still going on, and I did have a question last time. I hope you answered it correctly. I will place a new question probably next week sometime. I don't want to have a new one every other day, but those are worth a lot of entries in that $25 Bitcoin giveaway. So definitely check that out, and if you watch the video, that'll come in handy for you. But I've gone on a little long now. It's a 20-minute video. Hopefully you enjoyed the TA, a few of the updates, and have a good weekend. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, all that fun stuff.